The news is out, and that is that Rob Edwards has been confirmed as Middlesbrough's new head coach. The decision didn't really come as much of a surprise to supporters who have known the news for a number of days, with Rob Edwards set to replace Michael Carrick as the new boss at the Riverside Stadium. He beat Danny Rowell and Steve Cooper to the job, and some supporters have been left a little bit underwhelmed by his appointment, with some expecting us to do a little bit better. I think his time at Luton Town has obviously gone a little way to sort of detracting from his achievements earlier on in his career by getting Luton into the Premier League, which in my opinion certainly outweighs what happened at Luton last season. Now, fans are a little bit underwhelmed, but what Middlesbrough did was really, really quite clever. They released an interview with him immediately after appointing him as the new head coach. And that was a 10-minute interview, which was published on their YouTube channel. I'll drop that into the link below in my bio. And that was a really in-depth chat with Rob Edwards, getting a real insight into what he's like as a person, what his plans are for Middlesbrough moving forward, and what supporters can expect from him and his team moving forward. My point of view, it was a really, really interesting interview, and it offered three key bits of insight into what fans can expect from him. Three things which I think will go down really, really well at the Riverside Stadium. Here's what I thought of his interview, and here are those three messages which Rob Edwards was very, very keen to get across in his interview. The first message that Rob Edwards was keen to get across was about the way that he plans to set up at the Riverside Stadium. He was talking about Middlesbrough's tactical plan going into the new season and talking about some of the players who are already at the club. Now, he was very, very quick to compliment the attacking talent at the team. He was saying that there's some really talented players at Middlesbrough. That's something that has always been the case, and it's something he's really, really looking forward to, getting the opportunity to work with those players. It seemed to me that he was talking about the attacking players, because he then did quite quickly go on to say that while he wants to continue that attacking style of play, he wants to continue some of the work that was started under Michael Carrick. He does want to add a certain steel to Middlesbrough's team, and that'll be music to the ears of supporters. That's something that has been very, very clear for the last couple of seasons, really, that Middlesbrough are a team who have a soft underbelly. While we can, on our day, play really good attacking football, we are too easy to play against. Our defence is so soft, and we've conceded some really sloppy goals, and so to add that steel to the defence is going to be really, really important. Rob Edwards sounds like straight from the off he's going to be looking to address that. He's going to be looking to add that solidity to the defence. And some of the words that he was saying when talking about the style of play that he wants to present at the Riverside really, really sort of ring true for me. And they are things that I'd be really, really excited to see. So I'm not going to quote him verbatim, but he was talking about intensity in his team. He was talking about hard work. He was talking about the ability to win the ball back from the opponents, and saying that he likes his teams to do it double quick. He's spoken before. He's done an interview on the High Performance podcast, talking about the fact that he encourages his players to take risks and be bold moving forward. But he's not going to criticise them for making mistakes. What he will criticise them for is their reaction to those mistakes. What he wants is he wants players to do things in the attacking third and take risks and make things happen. But if they lose the ball, he wants them to be winning it back straight away. That's something that's going to be really, really present. He's really quite keen on having that aggressive streak in this team, that determination to win the ball back. And for me, that's going to be a really, really important factor for next season. It means that players are going to have to be really, really fit. They're going to have to be really disciplined. They're all going to be having to be willing to put in that work on the training ground and on the pitch to close down their opponents. And that's going to be a really, really crucial component for how Middlesbrough are going to set up next season. So he was also saying that he wants Middlesbrough to control the game. He's not just talking about ponderous passing and to doing horseshoes around the defence like we saw quite often under Michael Carrick. He's very keen to do that away from his own penalty area. He wants to do it as far up the pitch as possible. He wants to have the ball. He wants to pass the ball around, but he wants to do it with purpose. There is a sort of perception of Rob Edwards that he is quite direct in the way that he sets his teams up, that teams are a little bit more, I don't want to say route one, because that's kind of something that is a little bit derogatory, but they are a little bit more direct in terms of getting the ball wide and then getting it into the penalty area. And that is something that Rob Edwards is about. He likes to see his team pushing forward with purpose and action, and that's something that's going to be really important. He spoke about shots, he spoke about goals, he wants actions, he wants fans to be on the edge of their seats when they're watching Middlesbrough. He wants the team to be aggressive and take risks and be brave, and they're all really, really positive words that can be used to describe the way that he hopes to set up Middlesbrough next season. Now, he admitted himself that it's all well and good him talking the talk and saying that this is what he wants to do, but what he did do at the end of the interview was he did promise that Middlesbrough's players were going to be given their all and they will be fighting hard for the shirt. It does seem like it's going to be a really key component for how Rob Edwards' team will set up next season, and I, for one, if he can get that across to the players, I'm going to be really, really excited to see how that plays out next season. The second message that Rob Edwards was keen to get across in his interview was about using the academy system at the Riverside. Now, this is something which has been a bit of a gripe of mine for a few years now. Michael Carrick is someone who has come in, and I think he spoke early on about how important it is for clubs like Middlesbrough to use their academy and develop players and bring them onto the first team. But that it didn't really happen that much under Michael Carrick. I think if you take Hayden Hackney out of the equation, obviously he came straight into the first team when Carrick came in and became a regular and arguably Middlesbrough's most important player over the last few seasons. We haven't really seen that many academy players take that leap and move into the first team. There's been a huge amount of them on the periphery of it. There's been a few that have been named on the bench over the last couple of seasons, but in terms of game time, in terms of minutes on the pitch, there hasn't really been a lot to speak about. Now, that's something that Rob Edwards is clearly very keen to change. He's someone who was very, very open the fact that he takes huge pride in giving young players an opportunity at first team level. He was quick to admit that they've got to earn it, they've got to be deserving and ready and capable of stepping up to first team level in order to do so. But it is something that he's done before when he's been at Luton. He did it with Forest Green Rovers. He likes to give young players a chance and embed them into the first team environment. Now, some of the quotes that he was saying about that was he was saying there's nothing like it. There's nothing like seeing a hometown boy playing for his club and breaking into the first team and putting in a good performance. And that's exactly what Middlesbrough fans like to see. Historically, Middlesbrough have been a club who have relied heavily on the academy, and that's been a great thing. We've seen it in the years gone by. You sort of go back to the golden generation of people like Stuart Downing and James Morrison and David Wheater and Lee Cattermole and those kind of players. We've seen it more recently as well. With people coming into the first team with the likes of Ben Gibson and Dale Fry and these sorts of players. And I think Middlesbrough fans will be really, really excited to see more young players given an opportunity to play for the first team. We've seen players on the periphery, as I've said before. At the moment, we've got a few players who are there or thereabouts. And Rob Edwards did say that there are two players in particular that he has spoken about with Middlesbrough's hierarchy who seem like they could be fast-tracked into the first team. He didn't mention them by name. He didn't say who they were. I think if I was going to be speculating on it, I think you'd be looking at the likes of maybe George McCormack at left back, Sonny Finch in attack, Harley Hunt. You've got in central defence, and then you've got the likes of Bailey Palmer as well, who was coming into the first team at the back end of last season. And he's a very, very exciting talent, someone who is really destined for big things. And it just seems like Rob Edwards is going to be the man to kind of implement that pathway from the academy to the first team. And that's going to be so important because in a world where it's really, really competitive to attract talented young players, it's all well and good clubs like Man United and Chelsea coming in for these young players, but when they are just stockpiling them, young players are starting to look for clubs where there is going to be a clear pathway into the first team, and that's something that Middlesbrough could be able to offer under Rob Edwards if he is willing to do that. So Michael Carrick said that he was going to do it. It didn't really happen as much. I personally would love Rob Edwards to keep his word and do exactly that and give these young players an opportunity. It sounds like that's going to be coming quite significantly in pre-season. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for these young players to impress, but I think the real test will be when it comes to the start of the season in August, seeing how many of these young players are in and around the first team squad, making it onto the bench, but crucially making it onto the pitch as well, because that'll be the ultimate show of faith from Rob Edwards that he is willing to give these young players a chance. And that is something that I think fans will really, really warm to, seeing a couple more hometown lads getting onto the pitch at the Riverside Stadium. Now, the third message to come from Rob Edwards, which really struck home for me, was when he was talking directly to the supporters. Now, these sorts of interviews, they are a little bit staged. Obviously, they are with the club's in-house media team, so you've got to sort of like take them for what they are, I guess. And it is always the case that managers come in and they speak about supporters and how important they are and how they're the heartbeat of the club and blah blah blah. And that's all well and good, but I think when you listen to Rob Edwards and the way that he was talking, you do genuinely believe that he thinks that. I think he comes across really well in terms of his communication style. And I would like to think that he's learned from some of the errors from Michael Carrick and the way that he went about things with Middlesbrough and the supporters. Quite a lot of the time, I've spoken about this before on this channel, but also on various podcasts and on social media and that sort of thing, that I think one of the main factors in Michael Carrick's demise at Middlesbrough, it's quite a strong word, but his demise at Middlesbrough was the fact that his communication with supporters was just not great at all. The fact that we got to the end of last season and it was just a real apathetic feeling from supporters. They weren't angry, they weren't happy, they weren't sad. It was just a sort of feeling of nothingness. They just really didn't feel engaged, and that does come from the manager. You can't put it solely on him because he is just one person. But when he is being the spokesperson for the club on a week-to-week basis, he is doing these press conferences, and he was giving absolutely nothing away. Even things like injury news, I think fans just really felt kind of quite disengaged, and that they weren't really getting much from him, and they weren't really getting much insight, and there wasn't really a lot to buy into. I mean, I personally think that fans need to feel engaged, they need to feel valued to really buy into what is going on the pitch. And that just wasn't really happening under Michael Carrick towards the end, particularly when results started tailing off. So the fact that Rob Edwards has come out and he's been talking about it quite openly was a really positive sign. So he was addressing the elephant in the room. He was saying about fans being the most important. That's a bit cliche. I know a lot of managers will say that when they come into a club, but he was also addressing some of the concerns from supporters as well. He was saying that he'll have to earn the support of the fans at the Riverside with performances and results. It's all well and good him coming out and saying this and that and talking a good game, but that ultimately it's going to be decided by results on the pitch and performances. Fans want to see what he is implementing in this Middlesbrough team, and he wants to see his team performing for supporters and earning their support, which I think is a really, really important message to his players. That's something which I think will come across really well to supporters. I think fans will really appreciate that, and that's something that they'll certainly value. He was talking about his communication with supporters and expectations from fans. He knows that coming into Middlesbrough, it's not just going to be a case of finishing 10th in the Championship, because fans do expect that Middlesbrough are going to be challenging at the top end of the table. They do expect that Middlesbrough are going to be challenging for a top 6 place. And when he was asked about those expectations, he was saying he was all up for it. So he's not shying away from the fact that Middlesbrough fans are a little bit sceptical. He wasn't shying away from the fact that Middlesbrough fans will expect winning football from him this season. He was saying he was very, very much up for the challenge. He was also quite complimentary of the supporters as well, which I thought was a really good touch as well. He was talking about Middlesbrough supporters in I guess specifically. He was talking about North East football as well, but he was talking about Middlesbrough fans, and he was complimenting them on the fact that they do have a real knowledge within the fan base. I think it's just, for me, that's just a real kind of acknowledgement that he does, I guess, appreciate the fans' opinion. I think that's something which, from my opinion, obviously Michael Carrick would never come out and say that, but it did sort of feel that the fans' views and the fans' feelings just weren't really appreciated or valued or taken with that much importance. I think there was a lot of times last season when Middlesbrough fans were going to games, whether it be home or away, and spending the hard-earned money and watching the team put in these derisory performances, and then Michael Carrick would come out saying, "Oh, we were unlucky," or "Oh, we did everything right," or "We were just this," or "We were just that," and it really sort of is really quite polarizing for supporters who don't feel valued. They start to feel almost like, it's a really, really strong word to use, but almost feel a bit sort of like gaslit, that they don't really know what they're talking about, and the fact that, oh, we are actually playing well, but fans just don't understand it. And that to me is quite a dangerous sort of line to tread. Now, for Rob Edwards, it seems like he's very much taking a different approach. He does seem like he's very, very in tune with supporters. As I said, he was complimenting them, saying that fans at Middlesbrough, that they do have a real knowledge. They know what they're seeing. If they're seeing good football, they know it. If they're seeing bad football, they know it. They know what they're looking for in their team. And ultimately, fans will be there long after Rob Edwards has been at the club. And that's something that he was very, very keen to get across. He was saying that supporters know what they're talking about. And so for me, that was just something, it was quite a clear message that he is wanting to sort of, I guess, build that relationship with supporters. It is a really, really important component for me. Probably one of the biggest components that needs improving from last season. I know performances on the pitch are the thing that I guess pays the bills, and ultimately Rob Edwards' time with Middlesbrough will be decided by results and how Middlesbrough get on in the Championship next season. But for me, it's also about that feeling of community. I think Middlesbrough supporters need to feel connected with the club. We are that sort of club. I think for a lot of supporters, Middlesbrough is the absolute be-all and end-all, myself included. And so for them, it's really, really important to feel valued. They want to feel connected. They want to know what's going on. They want to buy into the manager. They want to buy into the team. And so I think the fact that he is willing to, he's almost opening up those kind of lines of communication quite early on, are really, really encouraging. And for me, they're a sign of positive things to come. And one of the reasons why I'm really quite excited about what life under Rob Edwards is going to be like for Middlesbrough. So that's what I think about Rob Edwards. That's what I think about his first interview with Middlesbrough. I was really, really impressed. If you haven't seen it already, like I said, I will drop the link to it in the bio below, so you can take a little look. It is on Middlesbrough's official YouTube channel, so you can have a little look there as well. Are you happy with Rob Edwards as the new head coach? Have you been convinced by his first interview? Drop into the comments below. Let me know what you think about Rob Edwards. And if you have enjoyed this video, please do hit like and hit subscribe, because there's going to be plenty more videos coming up very, very soon. Catch you later.